Now, I often start these episodes by stating the obvious, and this one won't be any different. The truth that I'm about to state is this. You will not make sales if you don't get your digital marketing game right. Now, if you're an entrepreneur who is the face of their business, who wants to grow and wants to use social media to facilitate that growth, you're going to have to work. Now, sure, certain tricks will make your work easier, but the first thing that we have to make sure that you are clear on is that you've got to be intentional about your work. And the first way to do that is by getting your marketing game down right. So in today's episode, I will be teaching you about a marketing method that has worked for me for over the past 6 years. So if these methods and steps that I'm going to be talking about today haven't brought me any immense success, I wouldn't even mention them at all. Now, the only reason I'm going to be talking about them is that they are tested and trusted. I've applied it to my business, which has helped me boost my sales to unexpected levels. The great news is that I'm 100% certain it can do the same for your business too. The only thing that you need to do is follow it step by step and work to optimize it for your business, because it will not only be easy, but I'm not going to introduce you to a magic button that you can just press on your dashboard to increase your sales. So this means that this isn't magic. It's just a clever way of marketing your services or your products. So now that you've been properly primed, it's time to introduce what this episode is going to be about. So this episode is all about something called email sequencing. So don't worry if you aren't quite sure what that means just yet. It's okay. When I actually first heard of it too, I wasn't quite sure of what I was getting myself into. So to give you a short and straight to the point definition of an email sequence, it's a moneymaker. It's the milkshake that will bring all the revenue to your yard. Okay. That sounded a bit corny, but you probably already know where I'm going with this one. The point is, a well-done email sequence will make you smile at the bank. Now, I know I may have put you off with that talk of working, but here's the good news. The only time that you have to work when setting up an email sequence is when you're actually drafting the emails. After that, you may not even have to lift a finger ever again. However, when you write those first email drafts, you have to be spot on. So back to my point. An email sequence, it's basically a series of automatically sent emails to a specific set of people on your mailing list. Now, when you set up an email sequence, you can either choose for it to be a trigger-based or a time-based email. So when a sequence is a trigger-based, the emails in the sequence are set to notice triggers and send the email based on certain actions people take. So for examples of the triggers that emails can be sequenced include browsing behavior, purchasing a product, booking an appointment, or even downloading certain content. Now, when a sequence is time-based, it is usually set at time intervals. So many entrepreneurs who use email sequences send their emails at 3 points: right after opt-in, 30 days after, and on the anniversary of subscribing. This was the method that I used to follow until I figured out that I actually lost so many potential customers in the space in between right after that opt-in and that 30 days after purchase. To plug that gap, I decided to customize things by adding a bit or a few extra steps in between the emails sent right after the opt-in and the one sent after the first purchase. So I'll share that extra steps right now. So first off, I made sure that the first email had something called a lead magnet. If you don't know what a lead magnet is, it's a freebie that you give to potential customers in return for their contact information. Many people think that contact information only means email and phone numbers, but that's wrong. You could ask for additional information from the potential clients that tells you right off the bat if they are your ideal client or not. This is called pre-framing. So the second email should be written to change a value. The chances that the person you're speaking to would already be on board with buying your product or service, it's probably very low. Now, to change this person's mind, it's important to identify a belief that may be stopping them from working with you or purchasing your products. So for example, if you live in a region where people aren't so crazy about buying online, let's say, you may have to convince them that buying online is the preferable way to buying offline. The third email comes after 3 days, and this time you're actually telling a story. So I don't know if you've ever heard this, but great marketing stories sell like crazy. It's probably the one thing that most people buy from the most. Not the goods, not the service, not any of that, it's the story. So brands like Coca-Cola, Disney, and even football clubs have turned storytelling into an art. But you don't need to have thousands of dollars in marketing budget that these businesses have to tell your own authentic and convincing story. Now, the most important thing about your story is that it must be authentic. Like it or not, people can smell a fake story from a billion miles away. Okay, that may be a bit of exaggeration, so let's just say a million miles away. People can smell a fake story from millions of miles away. Your story should also cover your goal as a business, your journey so far, and how you think they can become a part of your journey. Now remember, you are not selling a good or a service at this point. You are selling a story. You're selling an opportunity for them to become a part of something that is bigger than themselves. So these can be grand words, especially if you're still a small business owner managing to sell 2 or 3 products per day. But you are never going to make it to those big leagues and scale your business if you don't start marketing yourself like you're actually in the big leagues. Now, I don't usually like to say fake it until you make it very much because there is no faking it when you're in a business. You have to put in the work. But I suppose in this particular instance, it has to do. You've got to sell your story and you have to be convincing. So now that you've shared your story, it's actually time to speak about your offer a little bit. So sure, you may have a great story, an excellent story even. Maybe it's the greatest story in the world. But if your business or your offer cannot actually solve a problem for a potential client that you may have, you're either wasting their time or they're wasting yours. So now that may be a little harsh, but it is what it is. It's difficult to imagine a business that isn't actively solving problems, but if you have a business right now and you don't know what problems your business solves for your clients, you should probably take a break. I won't ask you to actually quit because that's a bit too harsh, but you should probably take a step back and come up with a reasonable answer to that question before you continue on this journey. Now, if you know what problem your business specifically solves, it's time to tell the potential customer about it. Tell them how it solves their problem or precisely how it addresses their pain points. This way, they would understand how your relationship with them could be some sort of benefit to them. Now, if you successfully address their pain points, you're already halfway to the sale. If your previous 4 emails were successful, they would have a question for you at this point. Now, many of them wouldn't actually want to send you an email directly asking that question. Instead, they would wait and try to find out the answers for themselves. For them, that's a sensible strategy. For you, it's really not. You have to shape the narrative, and that includes answering whatever questions they have as quickly as possible. If you don't answer them, another business will, and that business will definitely not have your best interests at heart. Is there something obscure about your business model, your location, your products? Outline them in a very clear language and make sure that your offer sensible and clear answers. They don't want answers that will lead them to further questions. Get to the point. And now it's time for the kill. This email usually comes 3 days after that previous fact or question email that you sent and when you've already primed the offer. So whether it's, let's say, a limited shirt that you think would look good on them, discounted prices on a service, a free strategy call, it really doesn't matter. But what matters is that you actually make your offer. Many entrepreneurs are so scared of this phase because they wonder whether extending an offer would actually scare a potential customer off. The answer I always give is this. If it would scare them off, they aren't your clients. That's just how it is. They're not going to be your clients. But if I get a remarkable discount on the pizza at a new pizza shop, I will go. Would I be scared of that? No. I would pay for the pizza, take it home, and feast on it. I wouldn't say, oh, this amazing waitress is only amazing to me because I may tip her. Even though, yes, that could be true, and then maybe flee. I'd recognize a great offer and I would actually take it. So do not be scared of presenting your offer. Now, many entrepreneurs I've spoken to complain often that their ideal clients often don't pay attention to their pitches. When they tell me things like that, I usually ask one question. Did you follow up? More often than not, the answer is no. They made a great offer, they got no response, and they decided not to follow up. So you may say if they were interested, they would have replied in the first place. Well, what if they forgot? What if they got busy? I'm an incredibly busy businesswoman, and sometimes I even forget to reply. But I also forget to check them sometimes. A million things could have stopped them from replying at that particular time. or following up on that particular offer. But the follow-up email at least serves to remind them that they still have to get back to you. So that was 7 particular emails. That sounds pretty easy, right? I laid it really, really clear for you. Well, no. Earlier in this episode, I did mention that there are 2 different types of email sequences. The first is trigger sensitive, and the other is time sensitive. I didn't mention any rule that stops you from combining both email sequences to optimize your marketing campaigns. In this time-based email sequence, if that doesn't help you reach your target, you can then turn on the trigger-based sequence that sends emails when it notices a specific customer behavior. Now, whatever works for you is totally fine by me. I usually stick to the time ones. But to make it easy for you, I actually put together a quick document breaking down this entire flow. So make sure you head on over to the link inside the description right below this episode. That way you can download this guide for free. And as always, friends, if you learned something new today, do me a favor. Like this episode, share it with those who might need it. And finally, subscribe to my channel for more content like this and be a part of this amazing entrepreneur community that we are building. My name is Lisa Ann, and that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here today, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.